So after finally waiting, issue 35 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is finally out. And issue 35 was a really nice breather issue from all the action and all the chaos that's been going on since Beyond the Grid started. So this was a really nice breather chapter. We got to learn about Heckle's past and how he became the Dark Ranger or the Talon Ranger, whatever you want to call it. It's still both ways from what I've heard, but this was a really cool origin story, and I like it how this issue was Heckle telling Kimberly and Cameron how he became the Dark Ranger. It was a really cool narrative and a setup to learn about this flashback. It wasn't Heckle just standing by himself reminiscing how he got this power. It was him telling a story to two other characters. So it was sort of like Heckle telling the story to the readers and Kimberly and Cameron. So it was a really cool concept and I liked how they handled it. Also, I want to talk about how they revealed issue 35 at Power Morphicon back in August, where they had the Beyond the Grid panel and they talked about Beyond the Grid, and Ryan Carter, the actor for Heckle, was hiding in the audience, and when they all said, "Oh, do you know who the Dark Ranger is?" and everyone's like, "It's Heckle," and apparently from what I've heard, people were sitting next to him, the Ranger Danger podcast people, he had this big smile on his face because the people still love the character, they still adore him, and then I think from what I remember, from what I've heard, Ryan just walked on stage and they're like, "Hey, look who's here, Heckle's here," so that was a really nice thing they did for him, and how this character and how this actor is still loved by fans. Now, before we get into the review, remember to hit that subscribe button if you're new, like the video if you enjoyed it, and let's get right into this review. Now, like I said at the start of the video, this issue is a breather issue from all the action because the opening panel is our Rangers sitting around eating food and telling stories, and these three Rangers are Kimberly, Cameron, and Heckle is telling the story. And I do like how Heckle gives Kimberly and Cameron a crash course, and probably the readers as well, a crash course of what happened in Dino Charge and Super Dino Charge, because they won't know what's going to happen, so he's got to remind them, and telling the readers as well, telling about the whole Snide and stuff and how the Rangers saved him and he worked together with him, so it's a quick crash course. Now, I'm pretty sure that this flashback takes place right after the finale of Super Dino Charge, where Heckle and Zeno Wing were sent back to their home planet Sentai 6, and they're just living the good life now. Things are back to normal. Heckle is starting to be a new keeper, and Zeno Wing is there to guide him, although Heckle wants to use the Dark Energem, but Zeno Wing's like, "No, it's too dangerous, it's got dark powers," and he says, "Plus, we need a shield, not another Ranger," which is a cool line. I do like that line that he says, "Hey, we don't need another Ranger, we need a shield, just keep focusing on being the new keeper and protecting this world." But Heckle is very upset. He said since everything got reset, that means Arcanon can return as well, and Arcanon does return eventually. But I love Heckle's reasoning for wanting to become a Ranger. He wants to protect his planet. He wants to protect the people of his planet. He doesn't want to lose anyone else again, and I'm sure that a lot of characters can understand that, and most characters have gone through that arc where they don't want to lose anyone, and Heckle wants to atone for the terrible things he did in the past. He doesn't want to lose anyone else again, and I can sort of understand that character development Margaret has given him. I mean, he's not a "woe is me, I'm such a tragic character." He wants to make up for the bad things he did in Super Dino Charge, so that's a really cool thing. I mean, he wants to make up for the bad things he's done. So Arcanon eventually comes to the planet, and Heckle wants to defend his planet. He wants to save it. He doesn't want to get destroyed over the Dark Energem because they're hiding it from him. And he goes, "Let me use it, I want to make sure this planet is safe." And Zeno Wing's like, "No, don't do that." And Heckle's response was basically locking him in the room and going to take on Arcanon by himself, and this is where he does the Dark Ranger Talon Ranger morph. That was a mouthful. I think just the Dark Ranger morph, and you see him turn into the Dark Ranger Dino Charge Ranger. Oof, that's a mouthful. But anyway, he does his first morph and he takes on Arcanon head on, and this fight is over fairly quickly. He's able to defeat Arcanon and save his planet, but unfortunately Heckle is being overcome by the dark energy from the Dark Energem, and he's almost about to lose sight of everything, but luckily in time, Zeno Wing comes to save him. And Xenowing uses a spell to remove the darkness from the Dark Energem and Heckle and put it onto himself, but unfortunately it's too strong and it destroys Xenowing in the process. And Xenowing has some interesting last words to Heckle, where he says, "Try to be good, Heckle. Try to be happy this time." So Heckle is floating in space, and as he narrates the story, he says that he couldn't really walk the places his teacher had walked, knowing because of what he did. His master wasn't there because of him. And Heckle doesn't want to face his friends or the people with the knowledge he's done, so he made his choice that he would end all who would threaten Sentai 6. And as he listened there, in the great darkness of space, he heard Zordon's distress speaking that we got in issue 27, and he eventually arrived in issue 29. And as he heard Zordon's distress speaking, he knew that he could help his fellow Rangers and atone for the bad things he's done, because that's what Heckle wants to do. He wants to help others in need. He wants to save people. He's a young Ranger wanting to save people because he was saved by the Rangers, and I'm guessing his mindset is he wants to save others like how he was saved. He wants to make sure he's helping people, which is a good mindset for Heckle. He wants to atone for what he's done and help as many people as he can. The flashback ends as we return to the present, and Kimberly, Heckle and Cameron are still drinking the tea. Well, it's an elixir, but it's not really an elixir or a tea. It's something from Ernie's juice bar that Kimberly found in a carton, which is interesting how they get it on there, but Kimberly reassures Heckle that this is an elixir, and if taken by 3 people at the same time, just every so often while exchanging magic words of sympathy, kindness and understanding, the 3 people are magically transformed into friends. And these words that Kimberly says makes Heckle just stare in silence. And she asks if he's okay. She goes, "You good, Heckle?" And Heckle just replies with, "Yeah." And on that final panel, you see a tear run down his eye. And that's a good way to end that issue. Heckle is crying and he's glad that he's got friends with him. He's happy that he's on some other universe and he's got friends no matter where he goes. And that was a good way to end the issue. I mean, I really liked how they ended that one. It was kind of a tearjerker seeing Heckle cry like that he's finally got friends. Like, he's met Ranger Slayer Kimberly and Cameron and all these other people, and they're there for him. They're there to help him, even though he thinks he did a bad thing back there. Heckle's still got friends no matter where he goes, so that's really good for him. And he also has the Dino Charge Rangers on board the Promethea with him, but we haven't seen them in a while. Also, Xenowing isn't really dead because at the end of Shattered Grid, the timeline is going to be restarted, or they're working on fixing it. So hopefully, maybe they can bring back Xenowing. Or maybe Xenowing didn't really die and he jumped into another dimension where we are now. Who knows, but I get the feeling Xenowing isn't going to be dead forever. And that's going to be sort of Heckle's resolve, that he learns that his teacher or his master isn't dead the entire time. He's still alive and well. But anyways, that wraps up my review of issue 35 of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. We're still in the Beyond the Grid arc, and this is probably one of my favourite issues of Beyond the Grid. I want to say so far, this has been my favourite issue of Beyond the Grid. I'm glad we finally got to learn Heckle's backstory, and that was amazing to finally learn it and see what it's about. But anyways, tell me what you guys thought of the issue. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Tell me in the comment section down below. I do my best to reply to every comment, and like I said at the start of the video, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, and I'll see you next time. Bye!